Daniel Day-Lewis, great actor, but it's like, you have to call me Lincoln. It's like, okay, so Mr. Lincoln, who are these 100 people on the movie crew over here? Is that the Congress? Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis is such a good actor. You let him do whatever he wants, but it's an affectation and it's stupid.
Hey, this is Zoe with Bronze Serpent Media. I'm here with my buddies on All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Porvoznik. Thanking everybody beyond words right now in the wake of our Sunset Strip, the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame Award show, blowing up. Thank you so much. We've got so many more new subscribers now, so many more comments coming on to those episodes. And thank you once again to Chipster PR and Jen Farhood over there, getting us on the red carpet. Awesome. And thank you, All Over the Place audience. Also, very quickly, want to make sure you're heading over to our sponsors/friends. Danny Zalesko presents Vinyl Record Dude, Drum Talk TV, Brilliance.com, and also check out what Kathy Rankin's doing over at Instagram. Check them out. Right now, I want to bring in Mr. Culver. Jim, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. And Marty, how are you?
Doing good.
Look at you guys with your fancy studios. I feel like I got to get an American flag in here somewhere right now. It's looking good, guys. Looking good. And I want to thank you guys once again very quickly before we bring our guest in. That Sunset Strip show, guys, it's blowing up. Thank you so much for being a part of that, guys. And Marty, thanks again for the chapeau.
Yeah, that was great fun.
It was so much fun. Yeah,
had a good time making that.
And hopefully we're going to be able to get everybody together again. I know with all of our disparate parts of the world, fingers are crossed to get out there for the there's a Ronnie James Dio Memorial benefit thing coming up, event coming up at the end of May. Hopefully we'll be able to get some press passes for that one and get the team back together again, because I have a feeling Kathy's going to be involved with that one too, because Eddie Trunk is as well. And joining us today on All Over the Place, you've seen him on the big screen, the small screen, you've heard him in video games, commercials, everywhere. Please welcome to All Over the Place, DB Sweeney. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Great, good to see you guys.
Welcome.
Yeah, great to have you on here. Been a big fan, going back a ways.
Thank you.
And before we get going, I just have to say that I met DB many moons ago. I was an extra in a movie back in Pittsburgh, Roommates. DB starred in that one with Peter Falk and Julianne Moore. And this guy is one of the most genuinely nice people I have ever met. And living in Hollywood, ran into him a couple of times out there when we were both living there. And East Coast nice. DB, thank you so much for that. And just said, we were in between takes. We were talking. I played a bartender extra. We were talking in between takes. I'm fresh out of Penn State Theater Department. And I just said, DB's like, hey, you're ever in LA? Look me up. And whether that was to get rid of a kid who was yammering away or not, but genuinely nice person, DB. Thank you again. Great to have you here. And glad you got a hold of us, because you've got a new movie coming out called Protector, starring Milla Jovovich and Matthew Modine. And tell us about that. What's that like being on the big screen in an action-packed movie?
Well, it's a familiar kind of story, very similar to the movie Taken. Milla Jovovich's daughter is kidnapped by human traffickers, and she's a retired or special forces trained soldier. And so she basically goes and kicks ass and gets her daughter back. And Matthew plays her military trainer. It's a little bit also like First Blood, where Stallone is a recent Vietnam veteran, and then he runs into a corrupt police chief. That's me. And Matthew Modine is the trainer who's there to say, hey, wait a second, Stallone knows how to do this, that, and the other. So that's kind of the same, very similar structure, something like Taken and First Blood.
I like it.
And you're working with the most recent First Blood director, Adrian Grunberg. What was it like working with him as an action director?
He's terrific. I had seen Get the Gringo, which he directed, which is great. But the really thing that caught my attention was he was the first assistant director on two of my all-time favorite movies, Master and Commander, directed by Ridley Scott, and Apocalypto, directed by Mel Gibson. So I thought, first ADs don't always become great directors, but being around those two great directors on those two great projects, it just seems to me like some of that would rub off. And Adrian's really terrific. He's got big things in front of him.
Excellent.
Awesome.
And what was it like for you you've got this career of playing nice guys, misunderstood guys. What was it like to play and dig into playing a villain?
Well, I've had a couple villains along the way too, but yeah, maybe not as often as nice guys, I guess. But the bad guys are always the best parts. You can just readjust your moral compass and have fun, say things that you would never say in your real life, and treat people in a way that maybe it's below your own moral standard. So it's fun to put on a mask and pretend to be a different kind of character. So, and it was great to be back with Matthew Modine. We hadn't worked together since Memphis Belle, and he's just such a good guy. I really like him, and so it's just fun to, when you have a history with somebody like that, it makes it really easy to just like ease right into the scenes.
Yeah, Modine seems like one of those guys that it seems he's a nice guy. It's good to hear that it turns out he actually is.
He is.
Of course,
What's it like working with Milla Jovovich?
All my scenes with Milla were remote, so I only met Milla over video, but she seems like a terrific person. She's very good in the movie. A lot of times I watch a movie and some 100-pound actress is like, punching a 200-pound guy in the face and the guy goes flying and it's so stupid.
Right.
But Milla is, she's about 5'10", and she's very athletic. And the movie's smart in that it doesn't have her go toe-to-toe in that sense with guys. She uses her weapons ability and she uses her smarts, explosives. So she's more. It's much more believable than the average, girl power chick action movie.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. I always find myself shaking my head, like you said, the 100-pound girl hits a big guy and he's staggering or whatever, and that just doesn't, that's not reality, and it kind of ruins the scene, and that's good to know that they actually address that by a female can definitely hurt you, and you just have to be creative.
Yeah. I mean, she's not gonna. It's sort of like anybody that watches UFC. It's like Ronda Rousey is probably maybe one of the greatest female UFC fighters of all time, but just about every 140-pound UFC male would destroy her.
Yeah.
So it's we saw tennis recently with there's just differences between men and women, and for some reason Hollywood is determined to create this archetype of like the avenging, female who can do everything a full-grown male can do, and it's just not true.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think the phrase I hear a lot is that these kind of girl power movies have very accommodating stuntmen. On those scenes.
Yeah, which we saw a lot of with in the 70s and 80s and even 90s with the martial arts, the grandmaster guy flipping people around, and we could all see that it was utter nonsense. So.
Right.
But yeah, women are better than us at plenty of things. They don't need to pretend there's one. There are plenty of things that women are better at. They don't need any help.
It's like in the military that they really want to. There's this idea we have to have a female Navy SEAL. It's like, you're never going to have a real female Navy SEAL or a Delta Force. They just physically can't carry enough gear, and they're just not strong enough. But there is some research that shows, like in the Army, that sometimes females have a better aptitude for being a helicopter pilot than men, or they have a faster learning curve. So there are places and roles, and obviously, in the future mechanized warfare, flying drones and things, there's going to be more parity of gender. But the idea of hand-to-hand combat or regular military engagement that women can be equal is farcical.
Well, it's good to hear that they're being creative with that and making sure that it's not just the typical one little kick and that guy's out. So that's good. I can't wait to see it. I'm looking forward to it. I love these kind of movies.
Fun. It's like the movie you're in from the beginning, and it's like going on a roller coaster. The roller coaster goes up and down, spins around, but it's still fun. So it's like that. It's not gonna try to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, and I'm a dude. Of course, I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, the wheel is easy to look at.
Yeah, for sure.
There is that part too.
You're not wrong.
And look, and she's already got her bona fides with all the Resident Evil. She's shown that she can hold her own on a big screen physically.
For sure.
For sure, and coincidentally, it is addressed in those movies, the Resident Evil movies, why she's able to do that. She's like got some superpower. That makes it all fine then. It wasn't just some great training. She's a scientific, genetically mutated person. I'm okay with that. That's a good reason.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So, Eric, you brought up that she's good to look at, and I'll just go ahead and throw it out there. One of my earlier memories of a movie of yours was Blue Desert. And I'm slightly ashamed to tell you that the main reason that I think it was Courtney Cox's first topless. I'm pretty sure. And I was like, wow. Oh, that was a big deal. I mean, I was married and everything, but I wasn't a kid, but still, it was it was something that stuck in my memory. And,
Yeah, if you ever go back and rewatch it, I think Blue Desert's a pretty good little movie. Craig Sheffer's in there, and Courtney was great. Yeah, you're right. It was like kind of the last job I think she did before she got Friends. She maybe a year or two away from that Bruce Springsteen video that launched her into everybody's consciousness. But, there was a scene that was in those days to deliver a movie to European distributors, you often would have to have a woman's breasts. It was just one of those things. Like the Euros, the Americans are okay with shooting a bunch of people and having some violence, but the Euros wanted the boobies. So it was in her contract, but the way it works is you're allowed to change your mind at the last minute and not do it. So she came to me that day and she was like, I'm really not feeling good about this. So can you help me not show my boobs? And we're having this makeout scene. And I was like, yeah, sure. I just thought, if my sister was on a set and somebody asked her to help, you should help them. So
sure.
She had her top off, but I kept moving my body to block the camera from seeing her. And I thought I was being really slick. They kept moving the camera over here and, I'd go there, the camera up above, and I'd sort of like go like that. And so
they were onto you.
Yeah, well, they never got a shot of it. And Courtney and I felt like, she was grateful that we had done what we did. So then when we saw the movie, they have all those shots of like, you kind of catch a glimpse of her, but, I cover it. And then there's just a shot of like, a shot like this of just a woman's boobs, like clearly fake porno boobs. And then a man's hands that go like this. And it was so stupid because I was like, I had my arms on the bed. There was no way, it was just crazy anyway. But so I don't know whether she would have rather had her own, very nice normal boobs or instead of cartoon boobs.
I think most people would have wanted that, but
yeah, it was just so funny.
That's a great story.
They didn't even try to make it look like it was her.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
And Marty, interestingly, on this show, playing the role of Mr. Skin, not me. Go figure on that.
Yeah, look at that. Look at me go.
You got to give the people what they want, right, Marty?
Yeah, for sure.
Marty's a little European, I guess.
Jim, the Catholics are saved on this one. We let Marty take that one. Yeah,
that's right.
And DB, you brought up the military earlier, and just you've been very active with supporting our military and just going out with the troops. And what's it like for you in today's climate to be supporting the troops the way you do?
Well, it's never super popular or understood in Hollywood. I mean, there's outliers, Gary Sinise, Jim Caviezel, Joe Mantegna. I mean, there are people out there, Max Martini, who support the troops. And then there's a lot of people that don't understand it because they're stupid in the sense that, the troops never declare war on anybody. They're just the poor sons of bitches that have to go deal with it and fight it and then deal with the after effects of it. So whether the president is Barack Obama or George Bush or Donald Trump, whoever it is, the troops go and do what they're told. So anybody with any sense would be like, well, let's support those guys. They're not deciding what to do and where to go, and they take the brunt of it. So I always felt like, let's just do a little bit for them. Let's see what we can do to ease their transition back, maybe help them with their PTSD. We have a lot of homeless veterans. That's a disgrace. So, I just think it makes me feel good to try and pitch in and do a little bit.
Well, those YouTube clips of you taking on the wokesters, great, funny stuff. Dig that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure what you mean. You mean that the King Jester thing we did? There
was the one with the girl who's she's just she's just oh my God. Well, there's this and this. You're like, well, what about this?
Yeah, that's hilarious. And that actress nailed it. She was so funny in that.
Yeah,
very good. And we actually just did another movie together called Red Ink that'll be out later this year. Very, very good movie set in 1949. Like a newspaper story, and I can't say too much about it because it's like a spoiler. But we shot the movie in like 7 chunks, so it's like a 70-minute movie, 75-minute movie with only 7 edits. So it's very challenging to have everybody in the right place, say the right lines, have the cameraman get in the right place, because you can't bail yourself out with an edit. So that was really fun and challenging, and I'm looking forward to seeing the way that all comes together.
I like that style. That's just like an interesting way of making a movie. That's very unique, which is challenging today to be unique in Hollywood. Nice.
For sure.
Red Ink. Hang on, writing that one down. That'll be in my
I've already made a note.
Very good. Thank you, Marty. Thanks for keeping us up on that one. And another thing that you've done online is and beyond the Two Dumb mix with Sean Astin. Talk to us about that and getting together with Sean, and what inspired you to do that with him.
Yeah, Sean and I became really good friends on Memphis Belle way back in the 90s. And, I thought I was still kind of new in Hollywood. And I was like, well, the people you like, the people that you've worked with, you're going to work with them again every 3 or 4 years and you'll see them. And anyway, I'd run into Sean every 5 or 6 years and we never ended up on a project together. So finally, 5 or 6 years ago, I said, Sean, I want to write something for us so that we can do it. And I didn't have the resources to put a whole movie together, but I always admired Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy and, all these great slapstick actors. So I wrote this little slapstick piece for Sean and I, and he agreed to do it. And it worked out really great. We started sending it to film festivals and it won, 85 awards, I think, at last count. So it was a real runaway hit at film festivals. And it's on YouTube now, Two Dumb Mix. There's no B in the dumb. It's dumb.
That's pretty good. I was wondering about that, if that was a little joke.
Yeah.
It's not duck, duck, duck. Like it. Good stuff. Very funny stuff.
Thank you.
Oh.
So I'm really looking forward to this movie because it's right up my alley. But I would be remiss if I didn't say this. My wife is a big fan of The Closer, and I'll hear her in the other room, and I can hear she's in there watching it or whatever, and just it seems I think it's kind of a thing for her. Whenever you're in a scene, she yells out "Topic."
That's funny.
Because she's of that age. She was about 13 or 14 when it came out. So
That's cool.
It was a big, big thing to her. And she's over in her office geeking out right now that we're doing this.
Tell her I said hi.
I shall.
And I like for you, DB, to have an iconic line that people just, be like at a concert, someone's yelling out for Freebird or whatever. I mean, how often do you still get, hey, Topic? And what's that like?
For a while, then for 10 years or so after that movie came out, I'd hear it 5 times a day. And now it's petered off a little bit, but I'll still every once in a while, if I take a bad step in an airport, I'll hear a toe pick from a couple people. So,
Nice.
It's just great to have, it's awesome to have a movie that people are watching over and over again after 30 years and showing it to their kids and their grandkids. And that's a great feeling because that's the surest sign of quality, something that you can watch over and over again 20 times or whatever people watch it.
Yeah. That was a movie I watched a whole bunch of times as a kid, as an adult. I actually got a quick story about that movie, if I may. So I was in college. I knew this girl. We were friends, and so she said, she invited me over to her room with a bunch of her friends. She said, we're gonna watch The Cutting Edge together. I was like, I was 19. I'd never had a bunch of girls invite me to a movie before, so I was like, this will be fun. So the movie when Cutting Edge was on, I'd seen it a million times, but so they spent the entire movie basically drooling over your character and just, he's so hot. And every time you'd say something like romantic or flirty, they'd all start squealing and giggling. But the minute I made a comment about how hot Moira was, I'd get yelled at by him. So there you go. But
Read the room, Culver.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. So yeah. Love that movie though. It's fantastic. I was curious. So how much of that skating on screen is you and Moira, and how much of it is stunt work? Because it looks like a lot of it is you guys.
Yeah, a lot of Moira broke her leg the first week of filming, so she couldn't skate almost at all in the whole movie. Like there's a few times where she skates across the screen where she's actually, you don't see her feet. She's being pushed across on a camera dolly or something. And our dancing scenes, she's on a camera dolly, which is amazing that she's such a good dancer with not even using her legs, just her upper body. She outdances me, and I have both legs. But since she broke her leg and couldn't skate, they leaned on me to do more skating than they had planned. Moira Kelly's double, this very talented skater named Sharon Cars, she looks almost exactly like Moira. If you put them side by side, it's like, wow, they're very close. The hair was exact, the facial structure. So I would skate with Sharon Cars, and then they would show like sort of a piece of Sharon's head and then show me. And, that made it look like it was Moira and I. But it was fun to have to step up how much they expected me to do. Also, the guys that got to double me didn't really look as much like me as they needed to. So they could only use them on certain angles. And, so I was up for it. I was up for doing as much skating as they let me. The problem is that it's it's a 12-hour day when you're filming. So even if you're a pro skater, you can't skate 12 hours. So they would have some like wider shots. They'd have some doubles, and sometimes there's other trickeration going on. But big chunk of it is me, and very little of it is Moira because of her injury.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool. And it's hard to get a stunt double for such a heartthrob, as Jim revealed. And those girls will sniff that right out.
That's right.
Got to have the real thing.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was you learned to skate for that movie, right?
Yeah, Moira and I learned together. They rented a rink in New York City for 3 months. MGM did, and we had the rink all to ourselves with coaches, and it's really where Moira and I really found the characters and found each other. We became such good friends, and I just admired her tenacity, and we just became like training partners the same way Doug and Kate would have been, going to the rink every day. I think I missed 2 or 3 days in 3 months, so I was skating almost 7 days a week. By the end of it, I was skating 5-6 hours a day. Moira was skating a little bit less because she just had the figure skating side, but I had to learn the figure skating side and the hockey side. So, and I was just so into it. I was like, I'm staying in the rink, and I would, little kids would come in after our time on the ice ended, and I would ask their, gym teacher or coach, can I skate with these 8-year-olds? And they would let me. And so that's where I really discovered the joy of the character. Because he would have loved when he was an 8-year-old. When you're 8 years old and you play hockey, it's almost as much fun to fall down and slide as it is to score a goal. And so that was kind of the part that really keyed me into the character, where how much he just loved being on the ice, loved being at the rink. And Moira's character never had that. It was always a job to her. So that was really, it's all part of the great writing that Tony Gilroy did, who's now one of the great writers of Hollywood. But that was his first script, and it really elevated the whole project.
And you went on to a rather prolific celebrity hockey tournament guy. So do you still get out there and shoot the puck?
Yeah, I've played. I tore my rotator cuff about 4 months ago. I had surgery playing hockey, and so
that's great.
I don't have time for this rehab. I want to be able to hit a golf ball. So I don't know. My hockey days may be over.
Yeah, you got to have priorities. You can't get out on the links. That's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's just injuries are once you get past 40, it's like injury rehab just takes forever.
Yeah, says the guy sitting on a sciatic problem right now. But what I did find out, though, with my sciatic issue, I was coaching freshman baseball last year out here in Arizona, and I re-injured my rotator cuff. But now that I've got the sciatic problem, I can actually throw the ball back overhand to pitcher when I'm umping. So, yeah, it's like I've been throwing underhand for 6 months as I'm rehabbing this arm, but I'm like, wait a minute, I could, yes. So I think I'll keep the sciatic
year to heal.
Baseball.
Awesome.
So. And that was an accidental pivot to baseball. Of course, you were in Bad News Bears is my favorite baseball movie of all time, but a very close second is 8 Men Out, and you of course played Shoeless Joe Jackson so well in that. And with the hockey, you learned how to do that for Cutting Edge. Baseball fan before you did 8 Men Out?
Yeah, I played baseball in college for a minute. I actually played one season of pro a few years after 8 Men Out in Australia, and that was great. So baseball was my game. But I was a right-handed hitter, and when they asked me to play Shoeless Joe, I was like, well, we got to get this right. I mean, this guy's been so maligned through history. And so John tells that do the best you can, and if you can't do it, we'll just have him hit righty. And so I spent about 5 or 6 months learning to hit lefty, and it was really fun. I discovered I had more power lefty than I ever had righty, which was interesting. I discovered that I was right eye dominant, which means I probably should have been a left-handed hitter all the time. But it's really fun part of being an actor when you get to learn a new skill. And at that point, when 8 Men Out was being filmed, there had never really been a believable actor as a baseball player. Like Bang the Drum Slowly, Michael Moriarty and Robert De Niro, great actors, both pathetic as baseball players. Gary Cooper, famously pathetic in Pride of the Yankees. There was Fear Strikes Out, another pathetic looking base. But anyway, while we were filming 8 Men Out, Kevin Costner was filming Bull Durham, and Kevin, he was a college baseball player, and he looks great in Bull Durham. Like so we were both at the same time filming the movies, but Bull Durham came out first, and I was like, dang it, he beat me to the punch. So, but to him, because he was completely believable as a AAA switch hitting catcher.
And I love that a movie accidentally made you a switch hitter. I love that.
Yeah. little benefits of being in the movies.
I love your dedication to the craft. You're learning to skate. You're switch hitter now. Like, what else?
Yeah, well, I learned to ride when I did Lonesome Dove, but if they hire me to be a garbage man, I'm not riding around on garbage trucks. I mean, if it's fun, I'll do it. I'll teach me how to play, hit a golf ball. I'll do all the preparation research all day long. But
that would be nice.
I'm not going to go work in a factory and pull a lathe for 4 months just to say I did it.
You can just watch Men at Work as you research for a garbage man. That'll be easy enough.
Yeah, you only take the method acting so far.
Well, I don't really believe in method acting. I believe, because if you're saying that, all right, call me Shoeless Joe Jackson because I'm not DB Sweeney anymore. You should be in an institution. You've lost your mind.
Weird.
So, because, and especially even Daniel Day-Lewis, great actor, but it's like, you have to call me Lincoln. It's like, okay, so Mr. Lincoln, who are these 100 people on the movie crew over here? Is that the Congress? Like what? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's stupid. It's an affectation. Obviously, Daniel Day-Lewis is such a good actor. You let him do whatever he wants, but it's an affectation and it's stupid.
I like how you cut right to the chase. You don't pull punches. It's stupid.
I mean, you go have your fantasy and go sit at the Lincoln Memorial and look up at the statue and say, "Oh, that's a very good likeness of me." Or you can actually admit that you're in the real world and you're an actor and you're playing Lincoln or whoever you're playing. But I like to research what my character does and what skills he has. And if there's a world that I don't know, like if I've never played an Amish person, if I was going to play an Amish person, I would probably go immerse myself as much as I'd be allowed to into an Amish community and just learn things that would be useful to me in portraying and acting like an Amish person. But at no time am I going to try to convince myself, oh, I must be Amish. It's you belong in a nutshell.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it was Bruce Campbell was talking about another actor who was into method acting and how he treated some of his co-stars, and his line was, "Well, there's method acting and there's being an asshole."
Yeah. I mean, a lot of actors come on the set and they say something like, my character wouldn't do that. And I just want to say, well, I got the script here, right here on page 17. Your character does that. So you don't know what you're talking about. Like actors have to take a break. Like the script is where the character is written, and then you're just there to, bring it to life and deliver it. You're not there to create the character.
Right.
Yep. Agreed.
You mentioned Red Ink coming out later this year, and also on the docket, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you've got The Legend of Van Dorn, A Civil War.
That's already out.
Oh, that is out. Okay. And then that's Amore. Is that out already?
No, that's sort of in development, and hopefully
okay.
Soon,
and,
so.
Is it Red Ink going to be in theaters, and of course Protector going to be in theaters? What's your take on Hollywood's new kind of straddling the line now between streaming, initial release, and putting things in theaters first?
Well, I mean, it's a tough situation because it's very expensive to make movies, and it's very expensive to run a theater. And I don't think that it's really possible for both the theater owners and the movie producers, studios, to make money. So I really think there was a consent decree in the 1950s where it became illegal for distributors to own movie theaters. But now Netflix owns the streamer, and then they put movies into movie theaters because of all the money they make on the streamer. So I think if there was a partnership between Paramount or Warner's or whoever the remaining entities are of movie producers, they should partner with AMC or one of those other companies and become the same company, because then you don't have two companies that have to make a profit. You can just have one entity that's profiting off of this content. And I think movie theaters have screwed themselves by pricing popcorn at $10, $12, $13 for a bucket of popcorn and $8 for a soda and $6 for candy. So the tickets are $20. All that candy and food and stuff is another $30 for a couple, maybe, or $40. So the movie hasn't even started yet. You're $80 into paying. Now I can go home in 17 days. I can watch that movie on Netflix for my subscription price of $18 a month, plus everything else that's on Netflix. So unless the movie theaters change their business model, there won't be any movie. There'll be like little specialty theaters like the Paris Theater in New York City and Quentin Tarantino's great theaters in LA. There'll be little kind of specialty theaters like that. But the movie theater chains will not exist in 5 years unless they make radical changes.
You have to make an event movie. And well, for you as an actor, just can you work it into your contract and say this movie has to be in a theater for at least a week or 2 weeks, or is that
No. I mean,
something like that is
Christopher Nolan can, and Tom Cruise can, and people like that can, but they'd have to give up some money to have that kind of guarantee. But no, I mean, you really don't have. It's up to the movie studio, and when they spend $300 or $400 million like Apple did on Formula One, that's going to go in theaters, because otherwise a lot of that money is kind of wasted, because no matter how good your home theater is, all the money that went into those visuals and that incredible sound design they did, that you want to hear that in a really great theater, like an IMAX theater. So that they're going to continue to make event movies like Avatar and F1 and Maverick and all, but the smaller movies are going to go straight to your home TV, unfortunately.
Well, I brought up a little earlier where we met on Roommates, and another of the extras, my friend AJ, a veteran here of All Over the Place. He couldn't make it today, but he does send his best. And what he was wondering, though, if you would share with us some of your memories of working with Peter Falk on that movie.
Yeah, Peter Falk and I became great friends on Roommates, and I just adore him. He was my late mother's favorite actor, bar none. And I met Peter a few years earlier, 4 or 5 years earlier, actually in Denver, Colorado, where my mom lived. And it was for a screening of 8 Men Out. And he was there. It was a film festival. He was there for something else. Anyway, we ended up at this big table of 20 people after the screenings. And my mom was with me. And so I never bother people, because I don't know. I just feel like I want to leave everybody alone. But Peter Falk was there. My mom was there. So I went over to Peter and I said, "Hey, D.B. Sweeney, I want to say hi." He was like, "Oh, yeah, I know you. I saw you in the thing." And so I said, "Listen, if you don't mind, would you just say hello to my mother? It will just make her life." And he said, yeah, sure. "What's your mom's name?" I said, "It's Fran." So he comes over, he takes a chair, he sits down next to my mom for 45 minutes and talks to her, holds her hand. It was just so amazing. Like, he was so generous. And so anyway, a few years later, when I made the movie with him, I already loved him on the first day because of how he treated my mom. And then I just, more and more, like, he had like 4 hours of makeup every day in that movie, and I didn't have hardly any. So I'd sit in the makeup trailer with him, and he didn't really get along with the makeup artist. So I would read him the golf scores out of the New York Times, like, because he's a huge golf fan. And that became part of our friendship. We became golfing partners after the movie. He belonged at the Riviera Country Club in LA, and we'd go play golf there. It was great. But I would read him the scores of like say on a Friday, the scores from the day before in the paper. And I'd say, "Oh, okay, it looks like Ernie Els, he shot a 69, 3 under. Oh, that Ernie, he's a big, easy, South Africa." He would go on a monologue about each golfer, and it would kill the time of when he's getting his makeup on and kind of soothe him. And I just loved it. Anytime he was talking, I was listening.
Oh, that's fantastic. What a guy.
And Kevin Pollak, take heed. D.B. Sweeney has got the best Peter Falk imitation I've ever heard.
That's really good.
Does he?
And I usually don't fawn over celebrity types, but I am immediately jealous of you. Peter Falk was your golf partner, your golf buddy. I've golfed with some assholes, and I'm so jealous. That is so cool.
It was great. Those are great memories that I have. And when he passed away, it was a tremendous loss to the acting world and just to people everywhere. He just was great to everybody.
That's excellent. Good to hear that he's a great guy too. Loved him as an actor, but man, that's great.
Roommates lives almost 30 years, actually 30 plus years on. So that's a great experience. And again, I'm glad I ran into you on that movie, and just thank you again for taking the time to talk to a kid who was recently out of theater school. So yeah. And folks, I definitely want you to make sure you are checking out D.B. Sweeney along with Milla Jovovich and Matthew Modine later this month in the movie Protector. We've got more. We've got Red Ink coming later this year. And DB, anything else that you want to let people know that's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, I'm currently shooting a movie called Boot Lake, which is on the internet as the 100-Page Project. And it's a very interesting Gen Z kind of experiment where they decided to write a script in 100 days using 100 different people, each writing one page. And they filmed each person. So the person writes page 1, hands it off to page 2 person, and page 2 person has to build on what the person wrote on page 1. So it could be a very chaotic script, but it's actually turned out surprisingly well. And Marty Cove's in the movie with me, and we're just having fun. It's like a murder mystery, and shooting here in Tennessee. So that's been fun to do. If people are curious, it's I think if you go to the 100pageproject.com, Christian Del Grosso is a big guy on social media, and Marcus Johns. They're both great guys behind this thing, and we'll see. It's an experiment, and you need to have a viral component to your movies these days, and this one certainly has it.
That's all. That is two unique projects. That is so cool. I to get involved with that stuff. Very awesome. Well, folks, thank you so much for watching all over the place. DB Sweeney, thank you again for joining us. Make sure you check out Protector in theaters later this month, folks. And take care, everybody, and thanks for watching and or listening.
All over the place, where the fun sanity never ends.